You are listening to the So Now What podcast with Lana Manikowski, episode number 167.
So now what? These three words raced through my mind time and time again during my journey through fertility treatments. I tried desperately to have a child, but never was able. I yearned for a community to join that could understand my struggles. I couldn't find one, so I created one with the So Now What podcast. I love that you found us.
I'm so glad we're here together because I know it's going to be a hard week this week. And I want you to know that you are not going to be forgotten this Mother's Day. And I want to talk directly to you this week. If Mother's Day is a weekend that you would rather skip than celebrate, if you're somebody who's always dreamed of being a mom, who hoped and planned and tried everything possible to make it happen, and now you're waking up in a life that looks nothing like the one you imagined, then this Mother's Day episode is especially for you. Because when the world is filled with celebrate mom billboards and commercials and emails and the flowers, it can feel like we're just standing on the outside of a window looking in, and that we're looking at something that is sacred, not because we aren't loving, not because we didn't try hard enough, not because we're bitter or resentful of moms, but simply because our lives did not unfold the way that we thought that they would. And no matter how long it's been since you found out that you wouldn't become a mom, or when the realization happened that things weren't working out in your pathway to motherhood, and no matter how far you've come in your healing, this week can still feel really hard. I've been seeing it everywhere. There's signs for special gifts for special moms. There's emails, there's text messages bombarding your phones. There are banners and signs when you go to the grocery stores or Target and Walmart reminding you to order now for Mother's Day delivery. And I feel like my life has been flooded with ads and reminders that I didn't ask for. So I scroll, I sometimes delete, or I switch the channel. And I know you probably do too. But here's what I want you to know, that even though we're often invisible to the world this weekend, we're not alone. And I want you to know that your story matters. Let's be honest. Mother's Day can feel like there is a magnifying glass zooming in on everything that we wanted but never got. And it's not about jealousy. And I don't think that people outside of this community fully grasp that we're not jealous. I've had so many women tell me, I'm not angry at my friends who are moms. I'm not bitter. I'm just sad for me. And I want to acknowledge that people who have not lived in your shoes and people who have not experienced many of the things you or I or others that are listening to this podcast have experienced just don't get it. And we have to allow them not to get it. I know that we oftentimes silence ourselves and we oftentimes judge ourselves because we wonder what other people are thinking of us. And what you are doing is you are experiencing grief. A lot of people don't acknowledge that what we experience when you are childless, not by choice, when you had this dream of how your life was going to go, and it might not have turned out that way with the children that you dreamed of, and the handwritten Mother's Day cards, and the breakfast in bed, and the brunch with your kids, and maybe a spouse, like all those things that you thought you were going to have were only ever this dream in your brain. And because there was nothing ever tangible for you to actually have experienced, a lot of people just don't get it. And we have to allow them to not get it. You can't explain enough and convince enough and yell enough and demand that enough people understand when they just don't have the ability to. But what you can do is feel your grief. The kind of grief that we feel is called disenfranchised grief. And this is a grief that often is not publicly recognized or validated. That is why I went and I got an advanced coaching certification in grief and post-traumatic growth, because what I came to realize is that we were told to stay quiet, to focus on the bright side, to be happy for everyone else, and find other things to do with our lives. But the loss of motherhood, when you always imagined it, when you invested in it, when you shaped your identity around it, it just does not vanish. It's not something that you move on from with a positive mindset or with a Pinterest quote or with an affirmation. And when you're childless, not by choice, Mother's Day is not just a single hard day. It becomes a cultural reminder of the club that you never got to join, and the label that you never got to wear, and the experience you gave everything for, yet you still didn't receive. You might be like so many of us who quietly are bracing for this week, and you see the flyers in your mailbox and you hear the announcements at church and the people asked to stand who are mothers, and you want to just cover up. You want to scroll past the brunch photos and the flower bouquets and skip out of church this week. And you might check out emotionally and tell yourself just one more week and it'll all be over. But deep down, you're wondering, why did it turn out this way? Why me? Why is this still so hard after all of this time? And let me say that if this is you, there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. You're not weak for feeling this. You're not selfish. You're not making a big deal out of it. You are a woman who yearned deeply. You love deeply. You hope deeply. And you had to let go of something that you never wanted to lose. And it's okay to feel sadness in the middle of a celebration the world doesn't think includes you. We live in a culture where visibility is power. Moms are rightfully celebrated, as they should be. But when was the last time you saw an ad that honored women like you? One who nurtures her community, one who supports her friend, one who shows up to their job with heart and with strength and with willingness, who wanted to give life and still grieves life in so many ways. That kind of woman deserves to be seen. You deserve to be seen. That's exactly why I created the Other's Day brunch. If you're new here, you might not know that 4 years ago in 2022, I created the Other's Day brunch because I knew that there had to be other people who, like me, wanted to feel like they understood and wanted to feel like they belonged. I knew that I needed a space, even for one afternoon, where women like me could walk in and take a deep breath and feel like they belonged, and not dodge questions about how many kids you have or suggestions of what you should be trying to have children. So when I started the Other's Day brunch in 2022, you know what happened that day? Magic. There was laughter, there were tears, there were hugs between strangers who now have become friends, book clubs that have started, pathways to healing that I couldn't even explain over a podcast episode, but stories that had never been spoken out loud that some chose to share, and a sense of relief that we don't have to pretend amongst each other. And since that first brunch in 2022, this event has grown beyond what I ever imagined. And again, the Saturday before Mother's Day, we will be gathering in Chicago, where women are coming in from all across the country, literally from East Coast to West Coast. And it's become a sacred space for women who don't have children, women who've lost their mom, women who maybe have a challenging relationship with a mother figure. So I want you to know that because even though our stories differ, the longing to feel connected and recognized is universal. So I'm not somebody who wants to cancel Mother's Day. I believe in honoring the people who raised and nurtured us. I believe that we are long overdue for expanding the lens of who is seen as valuable and who is seen worthy of love, attention, and support. So just like the author of a piece I recently came across that said, even after 20 years, I still wrangle with the grief every day. And it struck me because we don't talk about how long this loss can stay with us. But grief doesn't mean that your life is empty. It means your life is layered. And if you're anything like the women that I work with in my coaching practice and the Thrive After Infertility Mastermind, you're probably craving a roadmap for what comes next. And it's not just a life that you make do, not a life that feels 80%, but one that is rich and joyful and connected. So I invite you, if this is your first Mother's Day post infertility or your 15th Mother's Day, to take a step forward towards something that's for you. There's still time if you want to come to the Mother's Day brunch, or if you want to talk and book a Thrive call. I would love to offer you a free 45-minute Thrive call if you feel like you need to talk and have someone hear you. Or maybe you can write yourself a letter or buy yourself the Mother's Day card that you wish somebody would have bought for you. One that represents the mother that you know you would have been if your dream of motherhood came true. And you can also create your own ritual of remembrance and hope. But this year, just please do not hide. Here's what I know to be true. You are not forgotten. You are not alone. And your story, even though it's different than the one that you hope for, still holds a beauty, and it still holds power and still deserves to be heard. So whether you're going to honor your journey quietly at home, or you're coming to join us in Chicago, or maybe you're in spirit from across the world in another country, I want you to know that you matter this Mother's Day weekend. So if you're ready to stop waiting for the life that you wanted and one that feels good again, know that I can help you create a plan. I would love to help you find a way to create a life that feels full and rich and vibrant, even without the children that you dreamed of. So if you know somebody who also needs to hear this message, please share this podcast episode with them. You know that we often don't talk outwardly about what you're yearning, but we oftentimes know when others feel the need to be heard. So I'd love to just tell you that I see you this weekend. You're not an afterthought, but you're a whole woman with a full heart, even if it's still healing. You're not invisible. You're not less than. You are deeply and beautifully worthy this weekend and every day after. So I love you. I hope you have a beautiful week. And remember that it's never too late to discover your meaning. I'll talk to you next week. Hey, real quick, I just wanted to tell you about an awesome resource I created. If you have ever found yourself in conversations with people, or maybe people offering you suggestions about what you should do to become a mom, it's called the Top 27 Things People Say When You're Childless and How to Respond. You can get your copy free at lanamanikowski.com/thingspeoplesay.